My puppet always does what I want. He's a complete idiot. My wife told her lover while plotting to steal my garage and house. I let her think she won, but she ended up with a $650,000 mortgage debt and was abandoned by her lover. I went into my garage, grabbed the large torque wrench that could break rusted half-inch bolts, and headed towards her white Porsche SUV, a car whose optional extras alone cost enough to buy a new Ford Mustang. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I decided to turn it into a live car disassembly show that would leave the entire community stunned. And the show began with me precisely removing the valve cores from all 4 tires, listening to their simultaneous and satisfying hiss as they deflated. At 5 in the morning, only my tools and I occupied the garage. The sound of the deflating tires was particularly crisp in the silence, like the opening bell for the grand performance that was about to unfold. I watched as those 4 high-end tires slowly sagged. A cold smile formed at the corner of my lips. Those wheels do not look so fancy anymore, do they? That is just your first lesson. I'm E.I.S. Thornton, owner of Old Dog Garage. In the world of mechanics, my name is the best guarantee. For 15 years, I have used these hands to transform a dilapidated one-car space into the most popular classic car restoration center within a 50-mile radius. My client list includes judges, doctors, and even state senators. But today I would use these hands that had restored hundreds of engines to completely dismantle my rotten marriage. It all began 3 days ago after finishing work on the governor's vintage Bentley. I returned home 2 hours later than usual. Valerie's Porsche was not in the garage, and she was not answering her phone. In the community group chat, a neighbor posted a photo saying they had seen her car at the downtown yacht club. I did not think much of it. I simply drove to pick her up, assuming she was at another one of those boring social events. When I opened her car door, I found a hotel receipt that had fallen into the passenger side storage compartment. Room 207, registered under the names of Valerie Thornton and Red Walters. Time, 2 in the afternoon that day. Deluxe room with a king-size bed and late checkout. Checkout time, 12 noon the next day. Interesting. Really fucking interesting. I did not explode immediately. Instead, I took out my phone, photographed the receipt in its original position, and activated the timestamp. This would be the first cornerstone of my revenge plan. I carefully inspected the rest of the car and discovered a pair of men's cufflinks in the small center console drawer. They were obviously not mine. I photographed them too. Then I carefully closed the car door and drove back to my garage. I did not go home that night. I spent it in the small break room at the garage, constantly replaying in my mind all of Valerie's recent unusual behaviors, her sudden fitness fanaticism, those unexplained girls' nights out, and her disdain for my work. I pulled our bank statements from the last 6 months and discovered several large, suspicious expenses along with a new credit card opened without my knowledge. So you are playing a big game of chess, darling. Well, let me show you what a real chess strategy looks like. I found the backup card from Valerie's car dashcam in a deep drawer. I imported the last month's recordings to my computer and patiently reviewed each segment. As I fast-forwarded to last Tuesday's recording, I heard a clear conversation. Reed, darling. Ellis is a complete idiot. He is still killing himself with those beat-up cars, completely oblivious to what we have been planning for so long. Valerie's voice was filled with contempt. Just a few more weeks, baby. Once the divorce papers are finalized, the house is yours. That shabby garage will be sold. We can use the money to start our high-end wellness center. I have already found the perfect location. Just waiting on the funding, a man's voice replied. He will sign the papers. That pushover always does what I want, Valerie laughed. Besides, what evidence could he find? I turned off the video with a cold smile spreading across my face. Evidence? Darling, you have given me a whole movie. At 5 in the morning the next day, I began to execute my revenge plan. First, I called my old friend Steve, a retired cop who now worked as a bank security manager. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked after hearing my plan, his voice full of concern. She and that fitness trainer, Red, have already conspired to take everything from me, including the vintage Cadillac my grandfather left me. I replied with surprising calm. Now it is my turn to make the first move. All right. See you at the bank at 9. Do not be late. Manager Richard only gave us 15 minutes. After hanging up, I grabbed a piece of paper, wrote that note, photographed it with my phone, and walked towards Valerie's Porsche. I took the valve tool from my toolbox, and with almost artistic precision, I loosened the valve cores of all 4 tires one by one. With a hiss, all 4 tires began to deflate simultaneously. The first perfect response to betrayal. Always check your tires before you hit the road. It is basic common sense, honey. I whispered to the air, setting a photo of the slowly deflating tires as my phone's wallpaper. In the first hour, I completed 3 tasks. First, I removed the hard drive from our home security system, which I had installed myself with every recording of Valerie's and Red's comings and goings. Second, I gathered all the documents proving my ownership of the garage. Finally, I called the utility companies requesting a service suspension after 48 hours, citing that the owner would be on a long trip. The timing was perfectly calibrated to allow Valerie and Reed to react, but too late to prevent it. That is a mechanic's mindset. Always one step ahead of the breakdown. At 9 in the morning sharp, I was in Manager Richard's office presenting my collection of evidence: the hotel receipt, the photos of the cufflinks, the transcripts of the dashcam recording, and the garage's income records for the last 6 months. Mr. Torterton, are you saying you suspect your wife is embezzling your joint assets? Richard asked with some discomfort. Yes, and I have reason to believe that she and her friend are planning to illegally appropriate funds from our joint account. According to bank policy, Section 478, in cases of reasonable suspicion of financial abuse, you have the authority to implement temporary account controls. Richard looked at Steve, who nodded affirmatively. This fully complies with regulations, Richard. The bank has an obligation to protect customers from domestic financial abuse. Fine, Richard sighed. I will make arrangements to freeze the joint account and revoke authorization for all secondary cards. It will take 48 hours to fully implement, but from now on, any large transaction will require additional verification. Thank you, Richard. I extended my hand. Oh, one more thing. I need to cancel all the credit cards in Valerie's name that are associated with my company. These cards were requested in the company's name for business expenses. Richard frowned. Those cards also have her signature authorization, Ellis. Yes, but according to our agreement as the business owner, I have the right to revoke authorization at any time. I pulled a copy of the credit card agreement from my briefcase. Page 12, paragraph 3. You will see it is completely legal. After leaving the bank, I immediately went to Old Dog Garage. My shop foreman and good friend, Russell, was waiting for me. He was a 6'4" giant who had worked as a mechanic in the Marines and was now my most trusted partner. Man, are you sure you want to do this? Russell asked, pointing to the documents in my hand. I mean, I support you, but this is going to be tough. Absolutely sure. Valerie wants a war. I will show her what a logistical blockade really means. I handed a document to Russell. This is proof of ownership of the Porsche. According to the documentation, this vehicle was purchased in the company's name and is an asset of our business. Based on this company asset recovery notice, you are authorized to tow it back to the garage for an annual safety inspection. Russell grinned, showing his characteristic Marine smile. Understood, boss. I'm going to deliver a special service to Mrs. Valerie right away. She is going to love this surprise. During the next hour, I completed the most important preparation. I contacted my lawyer Frederick with an extremely confidential draft divorce agreement that seemed incredible. Ellis, you have lost your mind. Frederick stared at the draft, unable to believe his eyes. You are basically giving her the house and half of your savings. This is like voluntarily jumping into a shark tank. No, Frederick, my head is quite clear. I replied calmly. The agreement seems extremely unfavorable to me. But look at the vague wording in Section 17 about debt allocation. Also, do not forget to add a time limit to the asset transfer section within 30 days of signing the agreement. Frederick studied me for a moment and suddenly understood. You cunning old fox, this is a trap. Just a mechanic's mindset. I shrugged. Find the system's loophole and then exploit it. It is like fixing an engine. Sometimes you have to let it completely stall before you can start it again. At noon, I received a text message from Russell. Mission accomplished. The SUV has arrived safely at the garage. You should have seen her face like she had swallowed a live frog. The whole neighborhood came out to watch. I imagined Valerie's normally haughty face, contorted with confusion and anger, and I could not help but laugh. This was just the appetizer. The main course was still to come. At 2 in the afternoon, My plan entered its next phase. In the garage office, I had a special meeting with several trusted employees. "Gentlemen, I need your cooperation for the next few days," I said, looking at these old comrades who had followed me for years. "Russell, you are a decent actor. Starting today, you are a lottery winner." Russell Watson, a millionaire with a strong interest in health and investment. Russell raised an eyebrow. "What do I have to do?" "A setup." I handed him a business card and a new phone. "Send a message to this number. Schedule a premium health assessment for tomorrow morning. You will meet a self-proclaimed holistic wellness consultant named Red Walters." And then, my lips curled upwards, "You tell him you just won $000 in the lottery, and you are looking for promising investment opportunities in the health industry. You will say you like his energy and you feel he is a sincere person." The office erupted in laughter. "That guy will be all over you like a fly on a." "Boss, are you serious?" Tom asked. "Is this legal?" "Of course. Russell is just an ordinary person interested in health. Who can stop him from saying he won the lottery? He will borrow a Bentley, wear that flamboyant suit we bought for the Las Vegas Auto Show, and play the part of a lucky, loaded, simple-minded guy. It is not illegal, just a social experiment." The seeds of the plan had been sown. Now we just had to wait for the harvest season, and that season came faster than I expected. The next 48 hours became a symphony of carefully orchestrated chaos. First, Valerie discovered that all her credit cards were frozen, preventing her from withdrawing money or making purchases. Then, as she was about to use the Porsche to consult with Red about her next move, she discovered the car was gone, leaving only Russell's company asset recovery notice. According to later descriptions from neighbors, Valerie's scream at that moment could have made the dead rise from their graves. She paced back and forth on the front lawn, roaring into her phone, trying to contact the bank and lawyers, but clearly making no progress. When your credit cards are frozen, your luxury car is towed, and all your emergency contacts suddenly have busy lines, you will understand what true desperation means, I muttered to the surveillance screen. I could see Valerie circling the house like a canary trapped in a cage. Meanwhile, Reed, the self-proclaimed holistic wellness consultant, was busy meeting with the millionaire Roussel. Roussel played the part of a simple-minded new rich guy perfectly, constantly talking about his experience winning the lottery and how to spend money on health. "You know, Red?" Roussel dangled the borrowed gold watch on his wrist. "I used to be a car mechanic just like you. You used to be a little gym trainer. Guys like us who have come up from the bottom should help each other." "What do you call that?" "Oh yeah, grassroots spirit." "Absolutely." Russell Red eagerly handed him a protein shake. "I'm setting up a high-end wellness center that not only offers fitness services, but also nutritional planning, stress management, lifestyle remodeling. It is a truly comprehensive health sanctuary for modern people." "Sounds great. It is a brilliant idea. How much investment do you need?" Roll asked intentionally, his eyes shining with the glow of a trained actor's feigned innocence. Red's eyes lit up immediately, as if he saw a gold mine in the dark. "The initial scale requires about $2 million, but the rate of return is conservatively estimated at 30%. In fact, I already have a perfect location." Interesting." Russell pretended to consider. "I won $8 million. After taxes, I still have over $5 million. If I invest $2 million with you, can I become a partner? I can drink these shakes for free every day. They taste good, much better than what my wife makes." Reed nearly jumped. His expression was as if he had hit the jackpot. "Of course. In fact, I can take you to see the location right now. Oh, and you can drink as much as you want every day." Tomorrow, Roussel stood up, patting his intentionally prominent beer belly. "First, I need to consult with my financial advisor. By the way, I heard you have a girlfriend. Will she be involved in this project?" Red's expression became awkward for a moment. She is currently dealing with some personal matters, but yes, she will be part of the project. She has great social skills and knows a lot of high society people." "Great." Russell gave Reed an enthusiastic pat on the shoulder. The force almost made him stagger. "I like working with family businesses. They are more reliable." "See you tomorrow, brother." When Russell left the gym, Red had already mentally hung the sign for that non-existent high-end wellness center and had begun calculating the investment returns, specifically the portion that would go into his personal pocket. "This big idiot is like a huge piece of meat fallen from the sky," he said to himself, completely unaware that he was the prey. The following afternoon, Valeria and Red received the draft divorce agreement from Frederick. As expected, they were ecstatic upon seeing the contents. "Look at this." Valerie practically shrieked, waving the document in her hand. "He is giving me the house and half of the savings. This idiot must be scared to death." Reed squinted, carefully reading the document. "Wait, let me see if there are any traps. Transfer of ownership, division of assets, personal belongings. It seems normal." "Of course it is normal." Valerie smiled smugly. "He has always been a pushover. He is probably afraid a scandal will affect his precious garage business, so he would rather pay to avoid trouble." Red continued to skim the document. "There is a clause about debt here that is a bit vague. Agrees to assume all related responsibilities of said property from the date of transfer, including, but not limited to the mortgage and other liens. Whatever, it is probably not a big deal. Probably just property taxes or something minor. The point is, we have won." Valerie celebrated. "Ellis finally gets a taste of being played for a fool. Let us sign it quickly before that idiot changes his mind." Reed hesitated. "Maybe we should have a lawyer look at it. These legal terms are convoluted." "What lawyer?" "A waste of time and money," Valerie said impatiently, drumming her fingers on the document. "Besides, did not Russell say he was coming to see the location tomorrow? If he invests, we will need this money soon to start the project. The longer we wait, the more likely problems will arise." Greed and impatience finally overcame prudence. That afternoon, they signed the agreement in a coffee shop without carefully reading the appendices and fine print. "Now this house is mine," Valerie said triumphantly after signing, her eyes shining with victory. "First, I'm going to change all the locks. Second, I'm going to throw out all of his broken tools. That will be our home gym in the future." That night, indeed, they changed the locks and posted celebratory photos on social media with the caption, "The beginning of a new life. Thank God for giving us strength and courage." New chapter. True love conquers all. She had no idea they had just walked into a meticulously designed trap. "Frederick, are all the documents ready?" I asked on the phone. "Yes, El. The second mortgage application has been approved for 60% of the house's value, about $650,000. The loan will be transferred directly to your personal account while the debt is tied to the property. Completely legal, but extremely cruel." Frederick's tone denoted professional admiration. "Perfect," I nodded with satisfaction. "The timing is just right. We can complete the entire process before Valerie and Reed take possession of the house. Are you sure this will not cause legal problems?" Frederick worried. "It will not," I said confidently. "I'm still the legal owner of the property with the right to apply for a mortgage. And according to that vague debt clause in the divorce agreement, Valeria will automatically inherit all related responsibilities, including this new mortgage. It is like a basic principle in car maintenance. Always check the chassis because the real problems are often hidden where you cannot see them." "Brilliant plan," Frederick shook his head. "But they will definitely find out." "Of course they will," I laughed. "But by then it will be too late. Like a checkmate in chess. Once it is set, it cannot be reversed." 3 days later, Valerie finally received the first collection letter from the bank, notifying her that she had to pay the first installment of the new mortgage, which amounted to $000. She immediately called Frederick, her voice almost unrecognizable. "What does this mean? What new mortgage? This must be a mistake." "No, Mrs. Torton," Frederick replied calmly. "This is a second mortgage that Elle legally applied for before the asset transfer. According to Section 17 of the agreement you signed, you agreed to assume all related responsibilities of the property. This loan was applied for before you signed in full compliance with legal regulations. That is impossible. This is fraud." Valerie's voice became shrill like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. "No, it is completely legal." Frederick's tone was firm. "We can meet in court, but I suggest you consult your own lawyer first." "Oh, that is right. You did not hire a lawyer, did you? You should have read all the terms carefully before signing. Now this debt is yours. The monthly payment is $4,500 for 30 years. Valerie collapsed, running to Reed with the collection letter, shoving it in his face. "Idiot, how did you not see this trap? Now we owe the bank almost $650,000. We have to pay $4,500 every month." Red's face turned pale as if he had just been hit by a truck. Do not worry, honey. We still have Russell's investment. He is coming to see the location tomorrow. Once he invests, we can pay off this debt. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. Valerie's voice was like a knife. We do not even have that location. You just looked at a random rental ad. Now we owe a huge amount of money, and your plan is to trust a lottery winner you just met 2 days ago. Russell is our salvation, Reed insisted, although his voice had begun to tremble. He will come tomorrow, and then everything will be resolved. But the next day, Russell did not show up. His phone did not answer. His messages went unanswered. Red drove to the gym and waited all day without seeing a shadow of Russell. That bastard tricked us, Red roared, punching a gym locker. I knew that story was too fake. A lottery winner. Who gets that lucky? The truth, of course, was that the millionaire Russell had completed his mission and had returned to Old Dog Garage to continue his usual work. At that moment, he was with me in the garage's surveillance room enjoying this spectacular collapse scene through the hidden cameras I had installed in their new home. This is more entertaining than the Super Bowl, Russell commented while eating popcorn. Are you sure this is not illegal? Completely legal. I laughed. I installed those cameras and did not remove them before I moved out. Strictly speaking, I simply forgot to tell them. And this was just the beginning. In the second week, Red's customers began demanding refunds en masse. The reason was that someone had posted an ingredient analysis report of Red's supposed advanced energy supplements on a fitness community forum. The main ingredients were common starch and a cheap laxative. Someone sent me this report. A furious customer yelled at Reed over the phone. I paid $0 for your special muscle-building powder, and it turns out to be flour mixed with laxatives. Scammer, I'm going to sue you. The same day, Valerie received an official letter from the Homeowners Association Board, JOA, asking her to explain several suspicious expenses during her tenure as JOA president. The letter was signed by the new JOA president, a retired accountant known for his meticulous and inflexible character. Dear Mrs. Torton, the letter read, during a routine audit, we discovered several unexplained expenses totaling approximately $000. These funds were recorded as landscaping, but we can find no receipts or contracts. In accordance with HOA Bylaw 23, we request that you provide the relevant documentation within 7 days, or we will be forced to report this matter to the proper authorities. Valerie knew she could not produce those documents because the money had gone into her pocket long ago, used to buy her designer bags and shoes. Things were deteriorating rapidly. The bank started calling daily demanding payment. Credit rating agencies drastically lowered their credit scores, and letters from debt collection companies filled their mailbox. Their new life had become a nightmare, but the worst was yet to come. Have you heard? One of my neighbors asked me as he was fixing his lawnmower. Valerie and that trainer are going to announce their big plan at the barbecue festival. Supposedly a health center project that will transform the community. Oh, yes, I feigned indifference. Sounds interesting. Are you going? The neighbor asked curiously. Of course, I smiled. How could I miss such an entertaining performance? The stage for the barbecue festival was set, and it would be the climax of my revenge plan. I spent 3 whole days editing all the collected evidence, videos, recordings, photos, documents into a 10-minute documentary. Then, under the pretext of showing some classic car restoration videos, I requested a spot next to the main stage. Hey, Ellis, are the projector and speakers ready? Asked the volunteer in charge of the venue. Almost, I replied, pointing to the huge white canvas. I'm just testing the final image quality. How does it look from this angle? Perfect, said the volunteer with a thumbs up, clearly visible from the main stage. Great, I smiled. That is exactly the effect I wanted. It was a sunny Saturday, and residents from all over the community gathered in the Central Park. Each family had set up stalls sharing homemade food and drinks. Children ran across the lawn while adults chatted in the shade. As well-known figures in the community, Valerie and Reed naturally attended, although their smiles were more forced than ever. I stood by my stall pretending to adjust the equipment, actually waiting for Valerie to take the stage for her farewell speech as the outgoing JOA president. Friends, let me introduce our beloved JOA president, Mrs. Valerie Thon, and her partner, wellness consultant, Mr. Red Walters. The announcer's voice spread throughout the park through the speakers. To applause, Valerie and Reed took the stage with professional smiles. Just as Valerie cleared her throat preparing to speak, I turned on the projector. On the large white canvas behind the main stage suddenly appeared intimate photos of Valerie and Reed along with the recordings of their car conversations. The entire community's attention was focused on it. Ellis is a complete idiot. Just a few more weeks, baby. The house is yours. That shabby garage sold, he will sign the papers. That pushover always does what I want. Valerie's face instantly turned deathly pale, as if a vampire had drained her of her blood. Reed froze on the spot. The projector continued to play, revealing their entire conspiracy, including Red's energy supplement scam and the evidence of Valerie's embezzlement of Joa funds. Then came an animation I had carefully created with simple graphics to illustrate their entire scam process. From the initial romance to using the divorce to fraudulently obtain property and exploiting community resources for personal gain. The background music was a circus march full of satirical meaning. Finally, the projector played a video I had recorded. Fellow neighbors, I'm Thornton. For the past 5 years, I have quietly served this community by fixing your lawnmowers, pipes, and garage doors. Meanwhile, my wife Valerie, using her position as Joa president, continually added unnecessary regulations and fines to accumulate funds for herself and her lover. Many of you will remember last year's mandatory exterior repainting regulation. Who got that huge contract in the end? Yes, Red's cousin's company. Today I just want the truth to come out. By the way, starting next week, Old Dog Garage will offer a 20% discount on repairs to all community residents. Thank you for your support. On stage, Valerie and Red faced hundreds of shocked eyes, completely lost. The crowd began to stir with some booing, others pointing, and many pulling out their phones to record. Scammers, give back the money. Where did the Joa's money go? Shameless thieves. Valerie's friends quickly distanced themselves, pretending not to know her. Reed tried to defend himself, but the microphone had been cut off. They finally fled in disgrace amidst a chorus of boos and curses, looking as pathetic as two rats soaked by the rain. Ellis, that was incredible. The neighbors came over to high-five me. Finally, someone exposed those Joa schemes. I just did what had to be done, I said modestly, although inside I was celebrating. No one should exploit the community's trust for their own benefit. That night, the community's social media exploded. The videos of Valerie and Reed were widely shared. Even the local news reported on this crisis of confidence in the community. The show has just begun. Honey, I whispered to Valerie's terrified face on the television as I drank my beer. There is more excitement to come. Over the next 2 weeks, events unfolded even more dramatically than I had anticipated. First, the bank officially began foreclosure proceedings because Valerie had failed to make the mortgage payments 3 consecutive times. This meant the house would be auctioned off in 90 days and all previous payments would be lost. Then, a local television station aired an investigative program about Red's health products. The reporter personally visited a dozen victims and had professional laboratories analyze their energy supplements. The results showed that these products not only had no health benefits, but some ingredients could cause liver damage. This is an organized fraud, the show's host concluded. A self-proclaimed wellness consultant is actually selling inferior products that can harm health. The relevant authorities have begun to investigate. But the most spectacular part was when Valerie was subpoenaed by the police for embezzling Joa funds. The same day, 5 of Red's former clients joined together to file fraud complaints with the Consumer Protection Agency and the district attorney. Their perfect plan was turning into a legal nightmare. Under pressure, their relationship quickly deteriorated. Neighbors reported frequently hearing intense arguments from their apartment. "It is all your fault," Valerie yelled. "If you had read that agreement carefully, we would not be in this mess." "My fault," Red retorted. "Who embezzled the Joa's money? Who insisted on signing immediately? Now we have not only lost the house, but we are also facing legal proceedings." One night, the argument escalated to physical conflict, requiring police intervention. When the police arrived, they found Valerie chasing Reed with a pair of kitchen scissors while Reed used the sofa cushions as shields to defend himself. The police report will state domestic dispute. "Buddy," Jim, a local police officer, told me. But honestly, that scene looked more like a domestic war. That woman was brandishing the scissors like a maniac, screaming that she wanted to castrate that scammer. It is like watching a reality show, Russell commented in the garage. Are you sure you were not a screenwriter in a previous life? Just a mechanic who understands the principles of mechanics. I shrugged. Every system has its weakness, including people, especially those driven by greed and vanity. Their collapse is just a matter of time. A month later, the house was auctioned. Through a newly registered LLC, I bought it back at 20% below market price. No one knew who the buyer was, but several speculations circulated in the community. Oik was a bank executive. The neighbors gossiped in the backyard. Others say it was that reporter who exposed Red on television. Who cares? Another neighbor said. As long as it is not those disgusting scammers. As for Valerie and Reed, they completely disappeared from the community's site. Reportedly, Valeria agreed to return all the embezzled funds from the JOA to avoid criminal prosecution and was sentenced to 2,000 hours of community service, cleaning up trash along the highways. Those dirty jobs she once despised had now become her daily work. Red was sentenced to 18 months in prison for commercial fraud and selling counterfeit products. In prison, his muscles and his confidence faded, replaced by a defeated and depressed expression. Apparently, he was writing a book titled From Wellness Coach to Inmate, Confessions of a Scammer. As for me, I rented that mansion full of unpleasant memories to a single mother who was struggling due to her husband's work injury, charging a rent well below the market rate. I expanded the garage to double its size, adding 3 young apprentices specializing in classic car restoration. Every day, I do the work I love, and on weekends, I drive my 1969 Ford Mustang March 1st that took me a whole year to restore. That car was once just a pile of rusted metal, but under my hands it was reborn, becoming a moving work of art. It is very much like my life. After a complete dismantling and rebuilding, it became stronger and purer. Sometimes, when I drive this muscle car, which represents America's industrial golden age along the coast, I remember the last words Valerie said to me. "You ruined my life," she screamed hysterically next to the police car, her hair disheveled, her makeup running, looking like a clown soaked by the rain. "No," I replied calmly. "I just exposed your lies and your greed to the sunlight. You ruined your own life." I simply did not stop you. As I often tell my clients, cars can lie, dashboards can lie, but wrenches do not lie. That day, I found one of Valerie's elegant silk scarves on my garage workbench, her beloved Hermes, worth over $500. I did not throw it away. Instead, I used it to polish the hood of my Mustang and then hung it on the garage wall as a reminder. Some things seem glamorous and dazzling, but in the end, only solid work and an honest life bring true satisfaction. Every time a customer asks about that silk scarf hanging on the wall, I just smile and say, that is a story about maintenance. If you do not take good care of what belongs to you, one day it will betray you. Just like cars, marriages need regular maintenance or they will eventually break down on the highway. Some say revenge is a dish best served cold, but in my opinion, it is more like a precision machine that requires patient assembly, precise calibration, and only then can it work perfectly. Now my machine has completed its mission, and it is time to drive down a completely new road. The business at Old Dog Garage is better than ever, and I have not only restored cars, but I have also rebuilt my life. Valerie and Red have become a cautionary tale in the community, reminding people of the price of greed and deceit. And my greatest gain was rediscovering my own worth, not through the eyes of others, but through my own hands and my honest work. I'm no longer that mechanic despised by his wife, but a respected craftsman, a community hero, and most importantly, a man who regained his own dignity. Thank you for listening to this emotional roller coaster. We would love to know from which part of the world you are watching this video. What time is it there? Please let us know in the comments section. Whether it is good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, we wish you a wonderful day. If this story resonated with you, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. We hope to meet you again in another story.